A strawberry plant in the wrong light position isn't just struggling, and it's operating on less than 40% of the photosynthetic energy it actually needs to produce fruit. 40%. And the signal that pushed it there didn't come from bad luck or bad soil, it came from you. Last spring, doing something you absolutely thought was the right call. There's a specific moment, one decision most homegrowers make in the first 6 weeks, that tells the plant, clearly and chemically, to stop prioritizing berries and start prioritizing survival. It's not what you watered. It's not what you fertilized. It's something you probably did with the best intentions on a sunny afternoon, thinking you were helping. We are going to get to that moment. But first, you need to understand what a strawberry plant is actually doing when it sends out a runner. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And it will change every decision you make from here on. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to read your plant's current energy state, why it made the choices it made last season, and the specific structural intervention that redirects everything, runners, flowers, root investment, into the fruit production you were expecting all along. Here's the thing about runners. Most people treat them like a bonus. Free plants, extra strawberries next year. And that's not wrong exactly, but it is incomplete in a way that quietly costs you every single harvest. A runner isn't a gift the plant is sending you. It's the plant choosing to build a new office instead of shipping product. Think of it like a company with one fixed budget deciding between expansion and output. Every node on that runner, every centimeter of stem stretching out across the soil, is energy the plant has made a deliberate decision to root away from fruit. That's not a metaphor. That is the actual energy allocation happening at the cellular level when your plant starts spreading. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. A strawberry plant doesn't reproduce through seeds the way we learned in school biology. It reproduces through runners, stolons technically, because seeds are unpredictable. The plant wants genetically identical copies of itself in the best nearby locations, and runners are how it places them. Each node on a runner can root into a new plant within 10 to 14 days under the right conditions. 10 to 14 days to duplicate itself at distances of 30, 40, sometimes 50 centimeters from the crown. That's the length of your forearm grown from a single node in under 2 weeks. The plant is not slow, it is strategic. And right now, if you have runners spreading unchecked, the plant has already made its decision for this season. What's happening at the crown level while that's going on is actually stranger, but we'll get to that. Okay, so variety selection. This matters more than most beginner growers realize, and not for the reason you've probably read about. The difference between a June-bearing and an ever-bearing strawberry isn't just a timing preference, it's a completely different production logic. June-bearing plants put everything into one flush. One extraordinary harvest, 3 to 4 weeks. Then done. Ever-bearing varieties are running a different calculation. Smaller harvests, more often, across a longer window. Day-neutral varieties push that even further and will produce through temperature swings that would pause the others entirely. None of these is better. But choosing the wrong one for your situation, your space, your schedule, your expectation of what growing strawberries even means is how you end up with a beautiful plant that never delivers the bowl of berries you imagined. Pick your production logic first, then choose your variety, not the other way around. Now, crown placement. I cannot stress this enough, and I say that as someone who buried 3 plants too deep before I understood what I was actually doing. The crown. That dense, compressed point where the leaves emerge from the root system, sitting right at the soil surface, is not decorative. It is the metabolic hub of the entire plant, and it has a biological requirement to be positioned at exactly soil level, not a centimeter below, not exposed above, right at the line. Bury it too deep and you get crown rot, the base softens, the leaves yellow from the bottom up, and the plant collapses inward. Leave it too exposed and the crown desiccates. The roots can't anchor properly, and the plant sits in permanent stress rather than productive growth. A struggling crown looks leggy and pale at the base. A thriving one sits flush and firm, leaves emerging cleanly from a compact, healthy neck. Go look at yours right now. Seriously, go look. Soil is the part most people genuinely never think about. They buy a bag of compost, fill the pot, plant the crown, done. And then they wonder why the fruit is small and flavorless even when everything else looks fine. Compacted soil around shallow strawberry roots is like trying to breathe through a folded towel. Oxygen can't reach the root zone the way the plant expects it to. Drainage suffers. And the fine feeder roots that actually uptake nutrients and water start to suffocate. A loose compost-rich mix with real aeration, perlite, bark, coarse material worked through, lets the root system expand, access moisture evenly, and support the sugar production that happens during fruit swell. And the mulch layer. Right, the mulch layer. Straw, dry leaves, fine wood shavings across the soil surface. This is the thing most beginner growers skip entirely, and it does three things simultaneously. It keeps soil moisture stable, it regulates root zone temperature, and it stops developing fruit from sitting in wet soil and rotting before you can pick it. Fruit touching wet soil is how you lose a harvest in the final week. The mulch is not optional. Flower removal in year 1. I know how it sounds. You finally have a plant in the ground, it starts to flower, and I am telling you to remove those flowers. But listen, a first-year strawberry plant is not ready to fruit. Its root system is still establishing, its crown is still developing, and if you let it fruit that first season, you are pulling energy away from the infrastructure that will support every harvest for the next 3 to 5 years. Remove the flowers in year 1, and you get a root system that has spent an entire growing season investing in itself. That plant goes into year 2 with the biological capacity to produce fruit at a scale a rushed first-year plant simply cannot match. It feels wrong, still happening. Do it anyway. And when you do let it flower, in year 2, once the plant has that structural foundation, the timing of when you stop removing runners matters as much as when you start allowing flowers. Remove runners through the first half of the season to keep energy concentrated at the crown. Then, selectively, allow 1 or 2 to root as replacements for plants that are aging out. Every management decision here has a direct biological consequence. You are not guessing anymore. If you're still here and you haven't already gone outside to stare at your strawberry crown, hit subscribe to Home Plants Hacks. We go this deep every single week, and there's a lot more biology left in this garden. Pollination. This is the part that catches people out even when everything else is right. Strawberry flowers need to be visited multiple times, by wind, by insects, by you gently brushing pollen with a soft brush if you're growing indoors, and incomplete pollination is the reason you get misshapen fruit. You know the ones. Half developed, one side flat, textured wrong. That's not disease. That's not soil. That's a flower that didn't get sufficient pollen across all its receptors, and the fruit developed unevenly as a result. Airflow, spacing between plants, and access to open light all support natural pollination. Crowded plants in low airflow conditions produce beautiful foliage and frustrating fruit. Space them properly. Let air move through. Harvest timing is the last piece, and it is, genuinely, the one that most growers get wrong in the final hour. A strawberry that looks ripe, fully red, no visible green, is not necessarily ripe. The berry that is actually ready comes off the stem with almost no resistance, has a slight give under gentle pressure, and has the deep, concentrated scent of something that has had one more day than you thought it needed. That extra day of patience, letting the sugars fully develop rather than picking at visual ripeness, is the difference between a berry that tastes like strawberry and a berry that tastes like what a strawberry is supposed to taste like. And here's the loop that makes this worth understanding. Removing ripe fruit signals the plant to redirect energy into new flowers. You are not just harvesting, you are triggering the next production cycle. The plant interprets an empty stem as an instruction to make more. Every ripe berry you pick on time is a signal sent back into the root system, through the crown, into the next round of flowers. The harvest encourages the harvest. That is the system. That is what this plant has been trying to do the whole time, and now you know how to help it. Before we wrap this up, can you drop a comment and tell me, what's the one thing you've been doing wrong with your strawberries that you only just realized while watching this? I read every single one.